Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very special space we have here with our very good friends at Pixels. My name is Kermit, your host for the evening, and today's topic is building a new gaming meta. I know, very mysterious. That is very intentional, though. We will get into it very shortly, but what I want to do before we dive right in is introduce our lovely panel and our lovely panelists that are here with us today. So without further ado, oh, actually, one very quick note before we get started. Let's make sure to share the love, to just spread the love around this room. We have some great brains here with us on stage today. So let's make sure to hit that bottom right corner button and retweet the room, like the room, just comment, bookmarking. Apparently that helps. So make sure to just spread the love. Let's break the records, really. With Pixels, every time I'm hosting a space with Pixels, I'm trying to break more and more records because you guys are wild. With that being said, I also want to encourage all of our panelists as we're moving into the discussion. You see this cute green smiley face looking at you, my PFP. Very inviting, very friendly. Do not shy away from raising that hand. If there's a take you want to add on to, if there's a topic you feel like you want to just share something around, feel free to raise that beautiful hand of yours. I feel that that is one of the best ways to engage just organically in today's conversation. But without further ado, I do want to check in on everyone here with us today, starting off with our very own Luke. How are you, Luke?
Hey, doing great today. Yeah, thanks for hosting this with us. Yeah, excited to get into this chat. I've been thinking about this topic a lot, and yeah, I appreciate the other people on the panel too. I'm a big fan of Shrapnel, Pirate Nation, Generative Dungeons. Yeah, I think you guys are doing like some really awesome stuff. So excited to be on here with you guys.
I love that. I love that. And I agree, man. We have a great panel here with us today. We have Trapnel, we have Pirate Nation, and we have Generative Dungeons. I can't wait to get to just all of our panelists. I don't know if Heidi is here with us. I don't know if you're in a speaking position, but Heidi, oh, you've
I
unmuted.
am. I
Hello.
am here today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. No one ever asked me. No one
Wonderful. Oh, I always ask. You
No
need to
one
know.
no one ever asked
Um,
the host. Everyone
yeah.
just hi
Well,
DM.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I know I host all of our things. It's kind of strange to be in the other position here, but getting into my hosting shoes here, if you're in game, make sure you're in the theater. There's a little energy boost. And yeah, we did a very kind of ad hoc wrap up play to airdrop space last week, and it was really fun. So I hope you guys are all out again. I did want to say I also post all of the recordings of these spaces that we've been doing on YouTube. So if you ever like lose track of where they went, Source of Truth will be on YouTube. And I listened to the recording of last week's, and for some reason, my mic made it sound like I was lisping the entire time. So hopefully that's a little different today. But yeah, thank you so much, Kermit. Looking forward to this one.
Your mic made you sound like you were lisping.
Yeah, I
Lisping.
don't know. I listened back to it and I was like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with my voice? But it is what it is. You can go listen. It's on YouTube.
On a side note, why is the word that people can't pronounce
I
something they
know.
can't pronounce? Like what is
I know.
what is English on about? Lisping. Nice. Anyway, back to the conversation. Heidi, thank you so much for asking. I appreciate just the energy you bring every single time. Really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
for having me here with Pixels. With that being said, I want to check in with my beautiful panel. I've said beautiful so many times. That's because I've talked with a lot of these panelists, with the exception of one, which I'm super excited to meet for the very first time. But I want to check in with the homies first. Shrap, how are you doing? Who's behind Shrap today?
Hey Kermit, it's Sneaky Che behind the Shrapnel account. Thank
Sneaky,
you so much. Yes, sir.
how are you?
Dude, I'm doing wonderful. It is such exciting stuff going on in the Shrapnel universe. We actually have a playtest for our operator NFT holders happening on Thursday So we're getting closer and closer to our full early access release. Our NFT community gets that first look. They're going to be playing the game literally in 2 days. So I'm like more jazzed than I've ever been because I can finally give dates, not always say like TM soon. So it is a beautiful day to be on a panel, especially with these goats, Pixels and Pirate Nation. If you all in the audience aren't on these guys already, like they are crushing it. So I'm super excited to be here with this panel today, Kermit.
Man, what a legend you are, Sneaky. Every single space you're on with me, I know it's gonna be a fire space. I just know it. I walk in, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be an easy one. This is gonna be an easy one. We're gonna knock it out the park. Appreciate you for being here, and massive congrats on the upcoming launch on Thursday. I can't wait to see the fruits of your labor finally come to fruition. With that being said, you did shout out Pirate Nation, so I want to check in quickly. Dith? How do I pronounce your name? I don't think I've ever asked. Is it Dith? Is it this? It's a lisper's nightmare.
Part of the fun is never knowing for sure and hearing everyone struggle and come up with their own version. So I refuse to answer that in a direct manner. The other thing that I'm going to...
All right, Deet.
Yeah.
Deet, how are you today?
That's fine, man. I'll take it either way. But look, Kermit, man, the problem is, ever since coming on your spaces, I've stopped going clubbing because I get all the clubbing, the hard boss every time where I join one of the spaces. It really, it ticks that box for me, man. So in that sense, actually, it's very economical. So thank you for that. But seriously, obviously, thanks again for having us on another awesome spaces. Our team really loves what the Pixel team are doing, as well as Shrapnel, and I think you have someone else up on stage. So as usual, we're in great company. Thanks for having us. For anyone who doesn't know, Pirate Nation is a fully on-chain game. We've been live for a year. It's a fun, lighthearted, pirate-themed RPG where you get to do really cool stuff and act like a pirate. And the next big thing that we have coming is PvP, which is just a matter of weeks away now. So thanks again. Happy to be here.
I love that, man. And just like you said, I mean, we need banging music in every space. That is a requirement. That is a given. If we don't have just banging music, it's not a great time. It's not a great start of a space. I appreciate you for being here, Deeth. That is just how I'm going forward with it. Deeth. I'm going the French route. Deeth or Deet. I don't know. Anyway,
very
going on a tangent.
Very European. Thank you.
Very. Oh yeah, yeah. I want to bring out the European within me. Last but certainly not least, I want to check in with the man, the myth, the wizard.
Somebody
GD
summoned
Wizard.
a wizard.
Somebody
Kermit, how are you
summoned
this
a
evening?
wizard. I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm well. I was sorry to hear that people don't ask how you're doing this evening. So anyone listening now, to make up for that, get on there, give old Kermit a follow, be nice about it, say hi in his comments of one of his tweets there. Maybe he's pinned one, but show him some love. He's doing a great job tonight, and I'm pretty excited about what's going to be happening.
I do not have an awe sound effect on my soundboard. I have this, however, and I also have this. There you go. Those are the only sound effects I have. I also have a sad trumpet in case anyone is sad, but no awe. I should probably add one. Like, oh, I do appreciate I do appreciate that, man. Happy to have you here with us, and I can't wait to get into today's conversation, which again is building a new gaming meta. What am I talking about? What do I mean? Before I answer this, I want to keep it a bit mysterious. I want to lead us towards really what we mean here by a gaming meta. And what gaming meta are we talking about? What the hell is Kermit on about? Why is there a green character just smiling at me right now and talking to me and making me listen to some very funkylicious music? All of these answers and more will be answered. All of these questions and more will be answered in today's space. Luke, I actually want to start with you by asking you a question before I even introduce the topic. Asking you a question: how do you define a meta in Web3 gaming? What is a meta? Just the word meta.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I think meta, what I like to think about it is just kind of a trend that you see people following and hopping onto. Like there is other aspects of it too, but like I think that play to airdrop is a meta that's really popular right now.
Mm.
Like there's this overall meta of Web3 gaming in like the Web3 space right now. We saw like different growth metas for a long time too, and I think it's important to understand like what the metas are for different growth strategies and what's working, because people have expectations that they form around different like metas that form as well too. Like it's the language that your player base and your community also might speak, and it creates stronger standards of what to expect too. So like the play to airdrop is a meta that's getting popular, right? And now users have like a pretty strong expectation of what to expect out of a play to airdrop. It's like, okay, I'll play, I'll put in my time. It's going to last like a couple weeks. I know that I might get some tokens in return. And it's like this thing that makes sense to these users now. So they see another thing happening and they're more likely to convert into something else too. I also think there's a strong benefit to the projects that set new metas, because you're not competing with other people following those metas. You're doing something new. It's attention grabbing, all of that too. So we like to think about setting new metas all the time.
I love that. So metas, the simplest, most basic way to define it is a trend, right? We can use those terms interchangeably. Why is that a tongue twister? I don't know. Interchangeably with one another. Meta equals trend. And you did go into the next segment I wanted to pivot towards or lean in towards, which is, you mentioned a very important keyword, play to airdrop. Recently, I've started noticing a lot of attention shifting towards play to airdrop, a lot of different brands experimenting with what play to airdrop is. And who better to ask about this than the pioneers of play to airdrop, one of the very first projects, if not the first. Were you the first to implement play to airdrop?
So there's other gaming projects that have done airdrops, right? Like that's not something new, but yeah, we coined that term play to airdrop like a year and a half ago.
I love that. So who better to ask than the team who coined the term play to airdrop? Let me ask you this. What do you think led us to play to airdrop? Like a little bit of history. Like how did we reach play to airdrop? Because I know it had its predecessor. I don't know if we can call it that, play to earn, for example, right? Did that have anything to do? How did we land on play to airdrop?
Yeah, so we landed on it because we had run a play to mint for our NFT collection, Farmland. In order to mint Pixel's Farmland, and part of the reason why our community is like pretty strong, and it has been for a long time, is we were all about incentive alignment before the mint of our NFT even started. And the play to mint isn't something that we set. That was actually like in up and coming meta when we were like about to mint our own NFT land. I think the first play to mint that I saw was this NFT called Dusk Breakers. Thought it was super interesting. Somebody showed it to me, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, we should do that. So yeah, we ran that experiment with our NFT collection. We just saw a ton of success around it. And then I have been so fixated on tokens for like years and years now. As we were getting closer to like launching the Berry token and launching our Pixel token, I thought this was a great chance to kind of do that next evolution. So yeah, it was really like thinking more along the lines of play to mint rather than play to earn for us too. But yeah, it's interesting and exciting because it's like the same kind of meta as well. I think what works so well about it is it creates this like anticipation, right? Instead of play to earn, you have this guessing game of like what the tokens could be worth. Like you get to get in even earlier. Yeah, I always like to think about how we can create incentive structures for people to feel like they're onto something early, to have this like feeling that they discovered something before somebody else. And I think that really plays into this meta. I think that's like, see, when I'm thinking about Web3 archetypes and personas, that's when I see a lot. Like people love finding something before other people. And the play to airdrop is one of those like great metas to play into for that.
I love that. And you were just hitting on incentives. I want to go back to that or actually let's go into that right now. I mean, how important are incentives, do you think, in Web3 specifically?
That's the whole point of Web3 in my mind, like aligning incentives between like players, the different personas in Web3 to get the best outcome for everybody. And that's the hard tech, and that's the interesting part to me, where if you create these incentive structures, like Web3 games should in theory be much more efficient when it comes to growth, when it comes to getting new users, when it comes to monetizing all of this side of things if you build out the proper incentive structure. So to me, that's the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 gaming. It's ownership's a core part of that. Like all these other things that people talk about are a core part of it, but really it's like this incentive design system, kind of treating your game like a network or a protocol, even though it's just a game, but really thinking about how all of these people work together. Now you can create the protocol design, like the incentive design, to maximize ecosystem growth. Yeah, it's the coolest, like nerdiest part of all of this to me, but I love it.
I love when a founder gets all nerdy on me. Let me ask you this. This might be a chicken or egg type of question. I realize that, so I just want to preface it that way. But do you think that certain metas, like play to airdrop, influence player behavior, or do you think player behavior influences the development of certain metas? Like, which comes first, chicken or egg?
I mean, it's definitely a bit of both. Like, right. So one of the reasons that I was interested in the play to airdrop was I saw, things like Arbitrum and Stark at the time was doing an airdrop as well. And this was a really familiar meta with airdrop farmers at the time. So what we did when we launched the play to airdrop was surprising. Well, not surprisingly, if you look at it in the past, was we had attracted initially some airdrop farmer types. So not really gamers, but it's because this was like a group of users who was already familiar with the meta of farming airdrops that they came into like our Web3 game doing the same kind of airdrop farming that they've been doing on like L1s inside of a play to airdrop thing. And now I think it's interesting because like people have been like underselling how big of an audience there is of Web3 gamers. Like we're all on Web3 gaming Twitter. There are Web3 gamers out there, especially like I think we're proving it with the Ronin network, but there's Web3 gamers that also exist outside of Ronin. I think these Web3 gamers are kind of getting awoken to the fact that like the play to airdrop is a new meta and it's setting a better expectation. I think projects are also doing a better job of filtering out for players rather than these farmers. You're seeing players move from like game to game too. So yeah, there's a better cohort of these users that are familiar with gaming Web3 airdrops now. And yeah, I think we'll just continue to advance upon that and get better and better cohorts more targeted around that.
I do want to ask this very similar question to our panelists over here with us. I mean, how important is incentivization to your different ecosystems? And I would love to start with Shrap and then Pirate and maybe move on to Wizard as well. Shrap, how important is incentivization? I mean, including incentives in Web3 gameplay for you?
Yeah, I think it's critically important, and that's why we're building in Web3 is to be able to align incentives with community. And like when I say community, Kermit, it's not just about player bases, and I think that's what's so powerful about Web3 and blockchain enabled features and technologies is that we can reward creators in our game, right? If you just want to make super sick cosmetics and vanity, boom, we have a way to incentivize you there. If you want to go and like test out, right, new maps and gameplay modes that are getting created from our UGC map editor, there's a way for you to do that and ultimately be rewarded, right? If you're putting your vote and your reputation and your weight behind a map that ultimately blows up and gets popular and gets big. And so really what I think this allows any publisher and game developer to do is really identify what are valuable engagements, metrics, and KPIs in your game that you care about, right? And then just align incentives to reward people for adding value to your system. And so, I think at Shrapnel, we've done a interesting approach of that to make it so it feels inclusive to the entire community to participate, not just like, hardcore grinders or hardcore farmers. And so it's really exciting to see all of the innovation and differentiation between those levers, between projects. And I think, what I've been so impressed, especially with Luke and Pixels, is that, he had that vision and he had that, confidence to basically push out what he believed is the right incentive structure, right, for his specific project. And ultimately, it redefined an entire meta, and you have all of these, copycatters really trying to, follow in Luke's lead here for innovation. But I think that that's what you're going to see. The winners always, I say, are the people who, define the meta and ultimately change the meta. But, that being said, I don't think there's a like one single formula that's like, this is the real deal. Just like how, Luke discovered a new method to the madness, there's going to be future innovators as well, and I can't wait to see it, because all of it goes back into honestly rewarding and incentivizing the people that are supporting you most. So I'm all for it, and excited to see sort of how it all unfolds over the next year.
I really like that take. I really like that take because I do agree. I agree in that all it takes is just one person to figure something out for the masses to follow. Essentially, that's what writing a playbook looks like, right? You're laying out a playbook for everyone to see, and then everyone can use that same playbook, leverage it, leverage what is working in it, maybe enhance it sometimes, maybe just go a completely different route. And for you, Shrap, one question I want to ask just to go beyond that is, how do you think about incentivization? I know you mentioned, there's creator incentivization as well. There's player incentivization. How, like, as you're sitting down and you're thinking, we need incentives in our game, in Shrapnel, who do you reward the most? Like, as a builder, who do you go for? Do you go for the gamers? Do you place the gamers first? Do you place the creators first? Do you sort of balance everyone equally? How do you come about just landing at a perfect balance?
Yo, facts, Kermit. You're scratching at a real good question there, and honestly, there's like no steadfast answer, and a lot of
Oh, yeah.
this is going to be subject to change based on literally
Mhm.
what we're seeing the outputs are, right? So we have certain like budgets and allotments for like bucketed community incentives, community rewards, and all that stuff, right? But the actual like delegation
Mhm.
of those is still up to us to determine, right? So, we have set schedules for all of these, but if we see, certain things working or certain things not working, right, we have the ability not only to reduce or increase flow for any of those mechanisms, but then also add in, new ways to incentivize the community, right, that we aren't even thinking of now, rework the system. And so, really, the pliability of Web3 allows us to affect the outcomes that we're looking for. And it gives builders, developers just a whole new expansive set of tools to be able to sort of tweak and deliver and see if, ultimately we can find success. And in that, right, we're sharing success with the community as well that's helping you get there. So I'm just so happy about it.
I love that, man. Just fire, straight fire. I appreciate you so much, Sneaky. I do also want to ask Pirate Nation, because I'm a bit familiar with, the Pirate Nation ecosystem. I hold some pirates myself. But what does incentivization structures look like in Pirate Nation? So who do you incentivize? How do you go about just thinking about incentivization for Pirate Nation specifically?
So I think one of the things to call out, because a lot of the teams alongside us here have spent a great deal of time thinking about this, just as we have. And I don't want to, repeat anyone else's points, good as they may be. One of the things that's different for us is, as a fully on-chain game, where we think about incentivization is around some of these kind of big themes that we're tapping into, these kind of big sort of hairy, audacious goals that we have as a fully on-chain game. I think probably the most interesting one to talk about is extensibility, composability. Because our game is fully on chain, it means all the game systems are they're all smart contracts. Everything that you can do in the game, if you're questing, you're leveling up, you're going to do bounties, you're going to do combat, all of this stuff results in an on-chain transaction. That's made our game very difficult to build. But the reason that we went down this path is because there's this massive trend when we talk about, going back to the first point, metas and trends, there's this massive macro trend that we're seeing in gaming around UGC. Players like to create their own content. They like to spend time creating content. If you look at how player hours are spent in Fortnite, there's a massive portion of it that goes towards the creative suite. And if you look historically at how some of the world's most successful, most played games have been built, they started as mods, right? Like Counter-Strike is a Half-Life mod, Dota is a Warcraft mod, many other such examples. And so when we think about incentivization, one of the interesting things that's different for us is it's about this composability piece. What we want to do is expand our game world and universe, make it more fun and immersive and deep and engaging and more expansive in terms of its incentives as well, through encouraging the creation, community creation of mods, side games. It could be a fork of the game. It could be, look, it could be the case that the community builds a more successful game than us. But I mean, that's the whole ethos of building it fully on chain, and almost having a game that's kind of, you could almost regard as an open protocol in that respect. So one of the things that we think a lot about beyond like day to day, like, hey, how do we get our players to do stuff, is how do we work towards, as a key goal this year, having people create stuff around our game that expands its world. But to come back to Earth for a second and talk about, why we want people to play Pirate Nation. Yes, of course, it's a fully on-chain game. So as you progress through the game and you level up and you collect items, those are NFTs. And some people like to play the economic game. They like to collect items. They either hoard them or they trade them, they sell them, they do what they want with them. And one of the things that we've recently developed into the game is the first of what we call a merchant building. And that's in this case, the first one is called a shipwright, which allows you to build a building on your player island where other players can visit you and upgrade their ships, and they have to pay you in-game pirate gold currency to do that. They have to spend their resources at your shipwright to upgrade their ships. And when they do that, they pay you some resources and they burn some resources. And there's going to be more of these buildings. There's going to be quite a lot more, and that's how we kind of foster this interesting in-game economy where, if you're a power player, you can be playing. You can almost be running like your own business in the game, right? You build these buildings, you charge other players to use them. You will later be able to like have settings whether you want to only offer this to like your teammates or your clanmates, or you can have this building open to everyone. You can charge different prices, right? Like it's going to be an open economy. Some players will undercut you on price. You can choose to charge more or less, and so on. So we think it's going to be a really interesting year in seeing how these kinds of incentives play out. And like always, we keep a close eye on what other smart teams are doing. We exchange notes with them as well, because, really this year, I think is the year that we're going to see multiple games break out. And, the stage is set for the Web3 gaming thesis to be proven out with mass acquisition, games that really hit a kind of good point in the growth curve. And the thing is, there's a number of ways that it can be done. The principles are the same, but there's a few different approaches that can be taken. So it's going to be really interesting to see which of these approaches yield which results.
Do you think this is, since you mentioned the topic, do you think this is the year where we'll see a lot of uptick in adoption from outside of Web3?
I think a lot of the barriers and kind of excuses, convenient excuses that were present in previous years have fallen away, right? Like in previous years, the chains were too slow. The chains were too expensive. Oh, onboarding is too hard. We don't have wallets. Oh, there's no frictionless login. Oh, we can't get into the App Store. There were like 5 to 10 big things which prevented games from growing. I say these are convenient excuses because the truth is, in previous years, many games were just like too early, not good enough, not fun enough yet, right? But teams are well funded and experienced in this space, and I think a lot of us know what a fun game looks like and are working towards it. So then if you have a fun game, the remaining barriers are all stuff like, okay, well, how do you get players into the game? And how much does it cost to get them into the game? And can you retain them into the game? And then once they're in the game, do they do the right things, or are they just there to farm and extract and then dump and leave? And game launchers, right? We're now seeing multiple games successfully getting into Steam, Epic Games Store, Apple Store, Google Play Store. So pretty soon, I mean, it's probably already the case, there's not really any excuse or reason why you can't drive adoption, aside from whether your game is fun enough. And so I think, it's still the case that some of what I mentioned is really kind of hot off the press. It's only kind of the case as of the last 2 to 3 months. But by the time we get into Q3 and Q4 this year, then the tools will have been available and the know-how should have been proven out by a few teams. And really by end of 2024, yeah, I am expecting to see some teams hit serious player acquisition numbers. And, for us at Pirate Nation, as soon as we have our mobile app, we're going ape on player acquisition. At that point, we will have launched like most of our core game systems. Anyone who plays the game instantly feels like, oh, this is fun, but I mean, I would love to play this on a mobile device. So for us, getting onto the mobile app is really where we kind of take off the brakes and we push very hard on player acquisition.
Let me actually ask this to everyone on stage. If anyone would like to input their take, just make sure to raise that hand. I would love to listen to everyone's perspective. On that note, just mobile. How important do you reckon mobile will be in mass adoption in Web3?
I mean, it's extremely important, because if you look at where the addressable players are, I think a lot of gamers, myself included, when I zoom out, go back a year or two as a myopic, this meme PC master race gamer, you think whatever platform you're on, just because the servers are busy and everyone else plays on that, plays on a PlayStation or plays on PC or Xbox or whatever, you think the rest of the world does. They don't. The world plays on mobile. There's over 3 billion addressable gamers on mobile devices, and that's only going to grow. It's the fastest growing segment, and it's got the potential for the most reach ultimately. None of these other platforms are ever going to catch up to mobile. So anyone building, not on mobile...
Sorry to cut you off, but right now, as also you're talking, I've remembered the whole Apple thing, right? The barriers basically that Apple put up. Are these still a thing? Were these resolved? How are games sort of building on mobile given the restrictions that were announced?
So it's been the case for a while, and it's still the case that the App Store sort of review process, it remains somewhat of a black box, right? You speak to many different teams, and this is not just the case for games. This is the case for consumer apps, all types of other apps. I had all sorts of fun trials and tribulations launching a health tech app, dealing with Apple App Store. So that has been the case since forever. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. However, we have seen moves by Apple indicating that, look, it's not going to make sense ultimately for a hard and fast rule to be applied across all apps. Every game team is going to have to figure out what levers they need to pull and changes that they need to make to ultimately achieve App Store approval. Is it going to be quick? No, but it's almost never quick. And so teams need to, my advice is prepare in advance like we are. Make sure that the right relationships are in place. Make sure that the way that you're building your game today doesn't put you in a corner 6 months down the line where you either won't get approval or you will, but you'll be stuck giving Apple a fat cut on absolutely everything in your ecosystem everywhere, even when the transaction isn't anywhere near the app. So it's a case, I think, about forward planning and looking at how others have started to do it. But as I say, we started this process months ahead of us intending to get our app in the App Store, and ultimately that's how you need to think. If your mobile app is ready and then you're thinking how to get into the App Store, you're too late.
I love that. I love the insight. Appreciate it so much. Wizard, I do want to pivot the question a lot. I know, throwing you a curveball. I know. But is there such a thing as bad incentivization? Is there such a thing as bad incentives?
Of course there is. And that goes both ways, does it not? one could over incentivize holders, members, players, and end up with a empty pool. And the other way could go, not incentivizing enough, making your game not enjoyable, for example, means you're going to lose the gamer base. So of course you're going to have problems with incentives.
What does that mean though, to over incentivize holders?
If you over incentivize, for example, if you go through a market campaign, you decide I'm going to spend $200,000 in this period of time to incentivize gamers. You put $200,000 in the line, you get so many players in, the money stops after that event, and you suddenly realize most of the people that were there you thought would be followers, 80-90% leave your server. They lose interest because you're not incentivizing. You take that same $200,000 and you spread that out over 2 years, or you spread it out over $50 a week or something like that. Over time, you get a bigger player base. Okay, so you can over incentivize early on, or you could be smart about it, incentivize correctly, try and find the right balance to your audience versus the prize available that you've got, and what are you offering to bring people in after the fact of the prize? Is there other things they can do? Do they get to enjoy the game? Do they get to meet with your community, have hangouts? There's a lot of ways you can go. It depends on the project and the game that you got to offer, right?
I mean, just as you were saying that, and by the way, just a very quick note before I go forward. I think there's like wind going into the mic, so I can hear some wind particles coming on. So yeah, if you need just a moment to make sure the setup is all okay, take your time, brother. That is very interesting what you were saying. And as you were speaking, one thing it made me think of is, how do we build incentives that are also sustainable?
You'd have to look at what you want to build, right? What do you want to incentivize? Why do you want to incentivize? You ask those questions first before you even do the incentives. It comes down to, what do you want to do? Do you want to bring people into your project? Do you want to have daily gamers? Do you want to have people interacting with your tweets? I mean, of course, every founder wants all of these. But when you're doing the incentives, I mean, you individualize them and you work out like things like your budget. You work out what you've currently got. How many players do you already have? Can your players do the work for you? It's sort of a funny way of saying it, but when a player does a retweet of a high score, that draws an incentive that way to another player. That's a non-financial incentive, but it's an incentive that you've created. So you can budget yourself to do a completely free incentive market, but that if you do too much, if you keep flooding people's timelines with the same thing, you're suddenly going to get people blocking you. So that's another over incentive, of course.
I can think of a few examples right now as you said that. So I do appreciate how accurate what you're saying is. What are some positive incentives then? Like, what are some things that are just healthy for you to incentivize?
For me to incentivize, I like the friendship in Web3. I like the real social aspect can be a big thing. A lot of the ideas I've gotten for my side project have come from just speaking with other founders and discovering, hey, that's something I didn't know was possible, and you just told me it's really easy. I'm going to go look into that. For the new players coming in, okay, so Generative Dungeon, if you look at what we've done, we've created a platform for people to be CEOs of their game. It's not just about owning a game. You're in complete power of it. So in a lot of ways, we do want the owners, or if you want to call them founders, to take advantage of what they have in their hands. With the ability to edit your dungeons and all the 2D stuff that we've already done, the 2D, 3D, we've got a lot more we can add to that. But with the 3D release, with our play to earn, with our token incentives, our things that you could buy with the token now. So the token's been somewhat stagnant. We've had a lot of stuff you could buy, but it wasn't what everyone wanted. When we bring in that flaming sword, and there's only 10 of them to buy, it's going to go quick and they can use it in the game. Well, what about this? If this is an incentive that I've been thinking about for a while, is if I airdrop one item to all the owners, and they've got the choice, they can then incentivize their own dungeon by placing this rare, valuable item in their dungeon and putting their own tournament on. Okay. And now they've got something they can give away. It didn't cost them anything, but they've got something that they can give. And that's my incentive to our holders, for example, to give them the option. But then they've also got the option to become good builders. They could sell all their builds to other people to put in their dungeons, or they could create epic dungeons themselves with, whatever method or twists and puzzles and turns they want. And they could put prizes in themselves. And now that they've done that, there's incentive for other people to play in that specific dungeon instead of the other 2,999. So we're creating a sort of a competitiveness even within our own holders, or a desire for them to do better in order to get the play to earn method happening in their dungeon. Because as people play their dungeons, they'll actually be able to earn off the gameplay in those dungeons. So it's a split
I
incentive.
love that.
Everyone wins,
Yeah. Just a quick thought, because since you said I want to reward friendship, like this is all I've been thinking about. How do you reward friendship?
There's a lot of things we could do. Our knowledge sometimes is invaluable to another person, I've found. Taking 30 minutes out of your day to jump on a call with another founder that's got a problem. Every time I see a security problem in someone's server, I'm onto them quick. Say, hey, I can help and this needs to be fixed and we have to work together. There's a free method and there's a pay one. Pick one, please. Let's fix this problem. Because some founders just don't know. And that little bit of incentive from me may have just saved a guy $1 million that he would have taken out of his own pocket to run a project, and stopped a scam. Just something as simple like that. Those are sorts of things that in this space that we can all do. And the more that we do that, the better it reflects for the community itself, because there's so many scams in this place, and the SEC already wants to destroy everything in it. Or they want to control it more so, which is even worse. But, if we get together and if we do the things that are going to make this space safer for the new guy, we're going to make it a more enjoyable place. I mean, those are incentives already for the mass adoption, right? So that's what I like to focus on. Like you said, the friendship thing is a big deal to me. When it comes to partnerships, we don't like just doing a collaboration. That's a one-night stand in my eyes. And a lot of people know I frown upon it. I want to do a collaboration with you guys. The Pixels, fantastic example. Can we integrate with you? Yeah. Can you integrate with us? Yeah. Let's do it. That's fun. That's cool. Now I've got this. By the way, thanks, Pixels. I've got this awesome wizard I can go around and play in the Pixels, and I think that's great. That was an incentive for me.
When will we get a Kermit to run around Pixels? That is what I want to know. Why, Luke? What are we doing? Getting tractors and not Kermit in the game? What is this all about?
Yeah, maybe we can make that happen. Let's talk about it.
Do it.
Let's go. Luke, very quickly, since I have you here, where I want to go with this, and especially the thread that I opened with Wizard, which was, is there such a thing as bad incentivization, good incentivization? What do these look like? With play to airdrop, one crucial thing that I've noticed, because you did draw the comparison with play to airdrop and farming, right? Just on any layer one or layer two or any farming, any type of farming, in that, especially in a bull setting, what I've noticed is attention becomes scarce, right? It becomes very hard to maintain that user's attention, to keep them engaged, to keep them farming. I mean, with incentivize, let's start with this. With incentivization, what is your goal? Like, what is Pixel's goal? Why incentivize?
Yeah, it's actually very easy to make bad incentives. And for us, that's kind of what we're experimenting a lot with. Like, we will create incentives and they probably won't be the ideal ones at first. And our goal is to tweak them to make them better and align with the best interest. So I think that was kind of the difference between like play to earn generation one, which Axie Infinity really pioneered. They pioneered and like they showed people if you create incentive structures, it can do some really interesting things. Now, obviously, like the first generation of this didn't really work out because there was not quite the precise incentive structure that they needed in order to actually create a sustainable ecosystem. And that's like the next generation of what all of us need to figure out. It's like, okay, there's this top level incentive, and it's clear in the top level, our goal is ecosystem growth, whatever that means, whether it be more players, whether it be revenue to the project, like all these things. Like it can get like a bit more precise than that, but like our end objective is we want to grow the ecosystem, and that's kind of the high level goal there. But how you actually, implement that objective and who you give these incentives to is kind of the core tech. So if you create this incentive structure and you only have that level of depth, that top level ecosystem growth, you're going to miss the nuance between who is going to be actually growing with you and who the players are there. So yeah, I would say like it's really important to actually set bad incentives so you can target them even more specifically afterwards. But if you don't have that depth and nuance and like that greater understanding of how these incentives are actually ending up and like who specifically you're targeting, then I think it's going to end up with a bad outcome in that way. So for us, like the next stage of what we're trying to do is move beyond just like this high level incentive of, we want more ecosystem growth, and we want to actually look at who that ecosystem growth should be around. Should it be around airdrop farmers? Should it be around like sidewall farmers and all of these people? Probably not. So that means we need to get a bit more specific with the incentive design and create, good incentives, and also have a good understanding of who our players are. We actually have to like, track them properly, identify them properly inside of our ecosystem in order to actually create incentives for the players who still help that top level goal, but now it's like, sub goals inside of that. So, for us, it's like identifying, we want to give out this many rewards to players who complete this kind of quest because we label them as like a collector type player. And we want to also reward players who are, really trading on the marketplace a lot because that's, a valuable player who we think is helping the ecosystem. Players who engage in the social components of Pixels more because, we know that people who are hosting events inside of Pixels draw more users. So it's all of these things like that. It's basically that depth and nuance, which I think is going to be the second generation to play there in incentive design.
That is very interesting. Before I follow this thread, by the way, I did see Sneaky's hand up. So, Shrap, I do want to throw the mic over to you before I dive any deeper and
Kermit,
sink in the sea of Luke.
Luke has
Go
been
ahead.
spitting fire and facts. Literally, he's covered everything. Projects need to be so careful with the incentivization they put out there because, again, if that incentivization is too large, then that's the only thing that people are coming to your game for. And when that incentivization leaves or dries up, right, then there's no reason for those players to be retained or stick around. So totally agree with Luke. You have to be thoughtful and intentional about, who you're incentivizing and if those incentivizations lead to a player who's going to be sticky in your ecosystem, or are those incentives just leading to a transactional type of relationship where these players are ultimately going to leave at the end of the day. And I think Luke hit the nail on the head that the projects that are going to succeed are going to understand that nuance. And I also agree with Pirate Nation, Luke. When are we going to get some operators or some shrapnel into Pixels?
There you go.
Yeah, then we got to make that happen.
I just added so much work in just 5 minutes. I added so much work to the Pixels team. I love it. I love it. Just like putting more operational force on Pixels. Luke, what I wanna pick your brains on is the future, sort of the future trends of incentivization. Do you foresee just incentivization becoming the norm in gaming? As in, what was it, GTA, that announced they were having a token in their game? I don't know if that was true, if that was rumors. I'm not too sure, but I remember that going viral for a while, right? Like GTA coming out with their own token. It might be on the blockchain. It might be this. It might be that. It's making me laugh with those reactions. But, do you foresee that as a trend where every game will sort of like not play to, a free to play, sort of like free to play just swept through all of gaming at one point? Are we about to see incentivization just sweep through play to airdrop, sweep through all of gaming? Or is that always going to be a niche? Granted, could be a very big niche, but one niche in gaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Web3 is in an interesting spot where there's a bunch of different opinions on what's going to work still. And I love the fact that everybody is out here like pretty opinionated and trying their own stuff. So I think there is basically the role of all of us to kind of figure out what's going to work. But I do see a general internet-wide trend that's moving towards incentivization. I like to say that play to earn is not even something that's restricted to crypto right now. Like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter are all play to earn right now. Like there are programs that incentivize people who help grow the ecosystem, creators, and it pays them. And this is a general internet trend that is happening. And I think gaming is going to be part of that too. It's going to be core to gaming. It's, in my opinion, going to be like the next generation of gaming. We saw like free to play pop up. And to me, this is kind of the next steps of Web3 where, play to earn or incentivization pops up and starts to take over like the next generation of user acquisition, long-term gaming models. So yeah, I see it as, general trend, but also something interesting popping up. So I think we lost Kermit. If you want to speak on that, Shrapnel, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Just wanted to add on that, not only the trend for gaming, but I can also see this as well for consumer products. One of the main examples that I can point to is, the Brave browser. We're homies with Brave over there, and they're, rewarding their users for the ads they're being shown, right? They're giving you Brave tokens for you to be able to enable ads. And so, whether that's, with streaming and Kick or someone else or other, places where you as a consumer are being rewarded for your attention, I think it's only inevitable. And gaming obviously is where it makes the most sense, but I'm excited for this to proliferate outside of gaming and into like the other stuff that we're just doing every day.
I love this. I love this take. Twitter just shrugged me, by the way, FYI. I know everyone probably noticed, but I'm back. I'm back. We're so back. Elon did not like my question. He was like, no, enough incentivization. Stop making my life harder. I liked it when social media didn't have to pay its content creators. That's right, Elon. I'm looking forward to my next Twitter check. But with that being said, I do appreciate what you were saying, Shrap. I quickly tuned in from another account just to make sure I was in the loop. And also what you were saying, Luke. On that note, I do realize we are reaching the end of today's space. We're at the final 4 minutes. So with that, Luke, I would like to give you the stage. I want to just ask you for some updates on Pixels. I know you guys had the conclusion of your play to airdrop campaign recently. Just give us a quick TLDR for anyone listening, anyone wondering what happened at Pixels and what is to come.
Yeah, so we just ended our play to airdrop campaign. We saw a good amount of growth happen during that campaign. What's interesting is, I was expecting a drop off, but we've actually managed to keep a lot of the users so far. I think part of it is users are anxiously checking their play to airdrop dashboard every day to see when the allocation is going to be finalized, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's also great to see that there is like a decent amount of retention inside of the ecosystem. For next stages of Pixels, we have the Pixel token coming out. It'll be a few weeks of when Pixel. But it's just around the corner. We're super excited to kick that off. It's a huge deal. The whole team is working super hard to pull all of this off. And that's the next thing to look forward to. So we'll have some campaigns in the meantime to get you guys going, to keep you guys busy, but it's just about to happen.
It's just about to happen. I love that. Luke, I appreciate you for having me on. I want to thank our beautiful, beautiful panelists, Shrapnel, Dith, Wizard, Heidi, and Luke as well. Thank you so much for having us on. Everyone in the audience listening, thank you so much for tuning in. This was a very enjoyable space, building a new gaming meta with our friends at Pixels. See you all same time next week for another incredible space with Pixels. This is your boy Kermit signing off.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter.